Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bobby Likes the Spooky. Um, Countdown to Halloween ends. As you guys already know, Halloween 1 and 2 is already out. I'm reviewing these movies with a special guest every single day, pretty much leading up to Halloween ends. And today I have another special guest, Austin Torres from the Would You Die podcast. How's it going, Austin?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm alive. We're here. Happy spooky season.
We made it.
Yes. Man, I just want to say thank you again for doing this. I'm really excited doing these with people that I share, just horror related things with, and just people that I truly enjoy. And I've been on guest on your podcast a couple times, and it's always been a
Mhm.
blast. And I just felt like I owed it to you to come on my channel. And then when I heard that you like Season of the Witch, I said, yes, hook and reel. I'm getting Austin in.
Well, I appreciate it. I love all the Halloween movies, but I've been a Season of the Witch defender for a long time, and
Yeah,
I'm so glad that people are finally turning around and appreciate giving it the justice it always deserved.
yeah. All right. All right. So I remember I put a tweet out. I don't know if it was like the beginning of last month. It probably was the beginning of September. And I said something about like who likes Halloween 3. I'm trying to see something. And so many people said that they like it. But there's also a nice chunk of people that I know that strongly dislike Season of the Witch. And I mean, for a lot of reasons, I'm sure I know the reasons why, because obviously no Michael Myers. Um, but for me, and you know what? And I also was one of those people when I was younger. I didn't care for Season of the Witch either, because Halloween 1 and 2, you got Michael Myers, the big bad, and you expect to see more of this character. And this strays far away from anything Halloween that that we're used to. The closest thing that we get to Michael Myers is when they play the movie in this movie at the end, like when they making him watch the movie, and they play the trailer a couple times throughout the film as well. But that's the closest we get to Michael Myers in this film. But as I've gotten older, I grown to actually love Season of the Witch. It's not a great Halloween movie, I should say, but a movie on its own, I think is great, especially for the 80s. But before we
Mhm.
go on, I know you have thoughts as well. Do you have like socials and anything that you want to plug before we get started so people can find you?
For sure. Um, like you said, you've been a guest on my podcast. It's called Would You Die? And on there, I interview a different guest every week, and we talk about their favorite horror monster or villain. So, in the case of Bobby, who I've had on twice and will have on plenty more times in the future,
Oh,
we've
thank
talked
you.
about Sam from Chick or Treat, and we
Yes,
talked
safe.
about the Quarry, the video game. So it's not always the same. Sometimes I like to play around, but it's always horror. It's always spooky. It's not even always horror. I did a Star Wars episode because it was May 4th, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Star Wars
why
has
not?
monsters, close enough.
Listen, I come close to recovering things that's not horror related, but just because I simply love it. And even ex Mike from the People Under the Scares podcast with me, who's in the chats right now. What's up, Mike? Um, we talked about, because we quote a lot of movies and stuff like that, and it's sometimes not related, and it's like, oh, should we cover that? It's like, well, it's not horror or whatever, but it'd be stuff from like Clueless or whatever, just because
Yeah.
those movies are iconic and those are memorable lines. And you just want to talk about those great movies with people, so
Right.
yeah. So I get that you covered Star Wars because you simply just fucking love it.
Exactly. And like I did a whole month dedicated to Jurassic Park, which I will fight tooth and nail. That's a horror movie, but a lot of people are like, it's
100%.
not a horror movie. And I'm like, screw you. I'm still going to do a whole month. Dinosaurs are scary.
Jurassic Park is 100% a horror movie. as a
Oh
kid,
yeah.
I was scared of that movie. And I told you this before when
Yeah.
we were recording our episode of the Quarry. I mean, that first of all, the Quarry episode, y'all, before we get into Halloween 3, me and Austin had so much fun talking about the video game, but just other things in general. We went from Jurassic Park to Spider-Man to
Oh
the
yeah.
Quarry. It was just a good time, just because we had so many thoughts. But Jurassic Park, I feel like, is a must. A must
Yeah.
have conversation, especially with you, because you're one of the biggest Jurassic Park fans I know. So
I try.
no, you are. So when anytime something new Jurassic Park come out, and if I'm happen to be on your show around that time, we're going to talk about it. So,
Yes. Yes.
but yes, yeah. And also your Twitter, like, don't you have
Oh,
Twitter? Yeah,
yeah. So if you want to follow the show, which I recommend, it's at Would You Die Show on Twitter, and the same thing on Instagram. And if you want to follow me for whatever reason, I'm at Austin M Torres on Twitter and Instagram. I like to keep it consistent. I have one of those spooky names for Halloween, but I'm not terribly creative, so mine is Austin versus Predator.
I love it. We talked about Predator too. I forgot.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah. We go all over the place.
Yeah. I love it. And if you and as you guys can see, Austin has the same name as last name as me. We're cousins.
Oh.
Surprise! Sorry, we're not cousins. We just happen to share the same last name.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Austin. I really, really appreciate it. You coming on here, and we're just going to talk about Season of the Witch. So, do you remember the first time you seen Season of the Witch?
Yeah, I was in high school, and it was around the time when I first started watching the Halloween movies. Because when I was little, I was scared of everything. So Michael Myers was like the scariest slasher for me growing up. And it wasn't until high school when I finally got the courage to actually watch Halloween. And that's when I became like a huge Halloween fan. But when I first watched Season of the Witch, I was like many people, I'm like, what the can we swear on here?
Yeah.
Or okay, cool. What the fuck was that? Like not just there wasn't any Michael Myers, but what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
I had no clue. So I didn't like it at first, but then I kind of saw it again while I was in college, and I seen a few more weird movies, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have been so quick to dismiss this one. Maybe this thing has some things going for it. And then a few rewatches since, and it's my favorite Halloween sequel.
Yes. Oh, it's your favorite Halloween?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It went from the very bottom to the very top. So
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you a question. What made it your favorite, like, compared to, because I mean, we get Michael and so many in the other sequels, and don't get me wrong, a lot of those sequels are horrible. But this one stands out obviously than the rest. It stands out more. So what made this like your favorite? Even to the I'm sorry, it burns my tongue to say this, but even the first one.
Oh no, it's my favorite of the sequels. I'm sorry.
Oh,
No,
okay.
the
I'm okay.
originals. The original.
Okay, I got what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No.
I just want to make
gotcha.
sure.
Yeah, no, the original is like tiers above everything else. Like,
Yeah.
But what makes it my favorite sequel is the same reason why I didn't like it when I first watched it. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
It does bonkers things that even till this day, I'm still not quite sure why they did what they did. All I know is I love it. Like,
right.
Like when the kid is wearing, and I'm sure everyone watching has seen the movie, but spoiler alert just in case. When the kid is wearing the fucking mask, and it just like
Yeah,
like disintegrates his skull from within. Why is there centipedes and bugs and snakes
coming
coming
out
out of there? Where
right.
did they come from?
That is true. That is true. I do have a lot of questions because I
Mhm.
watched this recently just and I had those same thoughts. I said, all right, I get that maybe the mask is like destroying somebody's skull, their head, just melting it, whatever. But why the bugs? Why a big ass snake? Where the big ass snake come from? So it just
Exactly.
you're right. You're absolutely right. Right. Like where do these but I guess that's the mechanics of the silver shamrock mask. They can probably make whatever happen. That's the magical part about it. I and that's one thing about Season of the Witch that I wanted to see more of. Because we
Mhm.
see what it can do, but I want to see what it can do.
Right.
And that was one of the things where I'm just like, you know what? I dig that. That's pretty cool. And Mike, if you're still watching, this movie is definitely fuck them kids type of movie. It is, right?
No,
Like
it
it is.
totally
That's the whole
is.
destroy all the children. Like
Right. Yeah, it's the goat of horror films. Just
yeah,
fuck them kids.
exactly. Like and the best way to do it is on Halloween night. Yes,
Yeah.
get these masks. Watch this program. You're going to get something amazing. You just watch it and wear these masks while you're watching it. And no parents is going to think anything of it. They think, all right, my kid quiet, they're not in trouble. Let them watch this little Halloween program while rocking their mask or whatever. And this happens. And yeah. And one thing I want to know about too is just like,
Mhm.
okay, we don't know. I know I'm jumping far ahead, but at the very end, where you get Tom Atkins' character, and he's calling, I guess, the stations and saying like, "Hey, get rid of these broadcasts. It's horrible. Like, get rid of them." And as he's turning
Yeah.
the TV, like they're taking them off except for one. And then we get the iconic line: "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" And we don't know if they took off that station. Well, they took off that commercial or not, because it does frame and then it goes off. So I would have loved to see the aftermath of what happened if it didn't go off. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure that would be an insanely bleak and violent film, had we gotten Halloween. I don't know what the numbers would have been. Halloween 4 Season of the Witch 2 had they
Right.
made a sequel to that.
Right.
But um but I think it could have been like kind of like a purge post-apocalyptic film because
Yeah.
l- what I imagine happening is a bunch of kids died,
Yeah.
like a significant amount to the point where it affects the population. All of a sudden, there's not that many kids left.
Yeah.
And I think without, the future of your, society, it's going to crumble.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty gnarly film in there, which
Yeah.
you and I will have to talk about. We'll develop it. We'll pitch it out.
Yeah. I would love to, and like you said earlier, like this is becoming more of a favorite to a lot of people. And people just keep saying like, "Oh, Halloween 3 is just a bad movie. It's just a bad movie." And I don't think it's a bad movie. Like, yes, there's some questionable things in this film. And yes, Tom Atkins is always sleeping with women that he don't know. And for some reason he could just pull them just like that.
Well, he's
We
Tom
talk
Atkins.
true. And it's the mustache,
Yeah,
it's the mustache.
exactly.
That's what's getting everybody.
Yeah.
And I think back to The Fog, where Jamie Lee Curtis character is on the side, and she's hitchhiking, and then 5 minutes later they're sleeping in bed. What? You don't know this man? You don't know her? What is happening? And then in this one, like he just meets this girl. They going on this mission together, and as soon as they go inside this hotel, this motel room, they're sleeping with each other. Are y'all that horny? Like I just, it's a lot. But
Yeah.
it's Tom Atkins, like you said. It's Tom
It's a
Atkins, and
mustache.
yeah,
It's the 80s.
yeah,
It's But it is really weird. I don't think that part of it aged very well because she's like a 20-something
Right.
and she's like, "Hey, I need your help trying to find who murdered my dad." And like, now, daddy? Like, okay,
Right. I'm unaware of how old Tom Atkins is in these movies. Like, because I mean, he looks like an older guy, and maybe that's just how he
right.
carries himself. I mean, and he's an attractive guy, but maybe he looks older compared to. I mean, yeah, he probably looks older than the actual age he is.
Well,
So
he
I'm
looks like he could have been her dad.
that is true. And you know what? He had a wife and 2 kids, and she looks
That's
very.
right.
You know what? Never mind. I take everything back. Yeah. I forgot. And by the way, his wife in this movie is Nancy Keys, or Nancy Loomis. I guess it's Nancy Keys because she was married, but then she changed it back to Keys. But she played Annie Brackett in the first Halloween movie, and
That's
she came back
right.
in this one, but as his wife. So I remember as a kid, I was like, Annie, but it wasn't Annie.
I do
um,
like that aspect of bringing back some of the previous cast members of Halloween.
in
If they
different
could have gotten
roles.
Donald Pleasance again, I
Right.
think maybe um that would have helped the pill of no Michael Myers go down a little easier.
All right. So, um, all right. So I have a funny, not a theory, but
Mhm.
I have a role that I want Donald Pleasance to play in this movie if he was in it. But to go back, so the whole point of Season of the Witch is that they wanted to go far from Michael Myers. They
Yeah.
wanted to make this an anthology series where every movie is different. It happens on Halloween, but there's a different story each time. But where they messed up at was Halloween 2, because if they just
Yeah.
did Halloween 1 with Michael Myers, he's dead, whatever, and he's gone. And then maybe they did Halloween 2, um, Season of the Witch, maybe it would have been received a little bit better. Maybe some people still would have not like it because people did like Michael Myers, but being as though that we had 2 films with Michael Myers in it, it kind of solidified like, all right, this is what Halloween is. It's about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. But being as but oops, I'm about to take down my laptop. Sorry, y'all. This is live. But 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 if we didn't have Halloween 2 and this would have been Halloween 2, I feel like it would have been a little bit better. And Halloween 3 would have probably been a whole different story. Halloween 4 would have been a different story. And I would have been okay with that. And I wouldn't mind because all these at one point could have maybe connected with each other. You know what I mean? Like a
Right.
universe. Some of it could be taking place around Haddonfield or in Haddonfield, but not Michael Myers. Maybe something else is going on in Haddonfield. Or like Russellville outside of Haddonfield or in this area, and it
Yeah.
has a connection somehow. So I would love to have seen this anthology uh series, but unfortunately, that this movie didn't do well at all. And that's why it took a long time for them to do another Halloween movie. And when we got another Halloween movie, it was Halloween 4 in 1988, when this one came out like in 82, I believe. So it's been some years. But I can see why people dislike this movie, but I feel like people should just sit down, suspend disbelief, and just watch this movie and try to have a good time, because there are some good things in this film. Like it's some
Yeah.
interesting things.
I just gotta point out the fact that at the box office, Season of the Witch failed so hard. Like, people were just pissed that Michael Myers wasn't in it. That the
Yeah.
next 3 films in the Halloween franchise are like Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, The
The
Revenge of
Revenge of
Michael
Michael
Myers,
Myers.
Halloween
Halloween
6,
6,
The
The
Curse
Curse.
of Michael Myers. And it's just like, we get, like, I'm
You get
sorry,
it.
guys. Michael Myers is back. We promise. This movie's Michael Myers. It's all Michael Myers.
Right.
We promise we have Michael Myers. And I'm
Right.
like,
They have to let
now
people know, like, yeah,
they
Halloween 3 is
listened.
something. Yeah. And I think it was H2O that they stopped at. Halloween H2O, it was just H2O 20 years later, and then Resurrection.
Right.
But that's a fun aspect. Like I never realized that too, Austin. Like I didn't. Like I noticed that, like, oh, Return of Michael Myers, Curse of Michael Myers,
Yeah.
Revenge of Michael Myers, but I never like put it together. Like, damn, they fucked up so bad that they have to let people know that Michael
Right.
Myers is in these films.
And I just think that is the best. Like I love that.
Yeah,
Um, but you're absolutely right. Had things gone a bit differently, had Season of the Witch been Halloween 2, I think it could have been something like maybe how in across the different Stephen King novels they just kind of interact,
yeah,
like how if you've read it, at one point Pennywise shows up in a car that's described exactly as Christine,
mm-hmm.
and like, and I know Cujo's appear like, oh, there's a newspaper article of a dog murdering people. Like, oh, that's a Cujo reference, and I forget which book. But
Yeah,
it's like it's stuff like that where had we had different stories around the holiday of Halloween, which is what they wanted to do, then it could have been like Michael Myers is mentioned here, the Silver Shamrock
yeah,
mask are mentioned there, and
yeah.
but that's alternate universe
You know what? I would like I say
speculating.
that like I would love that. Like even with this like once this trilogy is over with Halloween ends, I always said like if they happen to do maybe a series of Halloween, maybe that they can touch on things like I mentioned earlier, things that's
Yeah.
happening in Haddonfield or around Haddonfield because it's not just Michael Myers. Um, he's not. Yeah, he's like he is like the evil entity that fucks things up. But there are other things in Haddonfield that that probably has to do a part of why he's the way he is. So maybe, like you said, the Silver Shamrock could probably like pop up every now and then, and maybe somebody's reading a newspaper and they're just like, oh, this happened and such with the mask. I'm not getting that from like my kid or whatever. Like make it, connected, and then come
Right.
up with new awesome stories and still throw Michael in there. Like, maybe talk about Laurie Strode every now and then, like she'll pop up in the conversation just so you can keep it within the universe and keep it meta as fuck. But also bring in new stories and bring in new things. I feel like I would love that. And I feel like John Carpenter would love that because that was the plan originally. So I feel like
Right.
it will work better as a TV show. And when I think about it, Halloween 3 reminds me of like a Goosebumps episode, but just like a rated R version of a Goosebumps episode. If you think
Ca-
about it,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
It's a Goosebumps episode. It's kind of like the Haunted Mask, but just a little different. So it's just
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's a rated R version, and you got people involved with taking out children. And I love this idea, and I think it was meant to be that way because it's supposed to be one story.
Right.
So I'm curious to know, like, what Deborah Hill and John Carpenter had up their sleeve after this movie when they realized, like, all right, we want to do an anthology after Season of Witch. What is the next idea that we're going to do? I mean, I know Deborah Hill is dead, like, rest in peace. But John
Right.
Carpenter, like, I'm curious to know what was the thing that you had for Halloween 4. um, but yes, Season of Witch, I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed this movie a lot, so much more now. One of the scenes that stick out to me,
Hmm.
I have two, but one of them that stick out to me, is when I forgot the young girl name, the one that's like searching for her father. I forgot her name. Um,
I
but
think it is Ellie.
Ellie, and she comes across a character named Marge or something, and they have this friendly
Hmm.
conversation. And while Ellie and Tom Atkins' character is doing it again, next door, sound like a kid doing it. Whatever. Um, Marge next door, she's because she was saying how one of the masks is like malfunction or is like defected, and she sees it when reading her book and stuff. So she's picking up the chip and she's
Yeah.
picking at it, and she gets zapped in the fucking face. When I was young, that took me out. I was scared
Yeah.
because to see the aftermath after she got zapped in the face and just see how pretty much her mouth was like exploded and her eyes were like bulbs, and then again we get the insects again because you get spiders and stuff coming out her
Right.
mouth. So
Yeah.
it has something to do, whatever is in this chip has something to, I don't know if it's like a portal to hell and is bringing things from hell and shit out. I don't know, but
Well, it's
it's very
powered by
interesting.
Stonehenge or something, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. It is powered by that. But okay.
How does this man
Yeah.
just up and steal Stonehenge?
Right.
Like I know he's supposed to be like super rich capitalist, and that's I can see someone like Elon Musk being like, you know what, Stonehenge,
Yeah.
I want it. It's mine now.
Yeah.
But the I mean, like, if I remember correctly, the movie's like Stonehenge went missing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't think that would have been a secret. Like, how do you
Yeah.
do that
I don't know.
discreetly?
I do not know, but what's his name? Cochran or whatever his name is.
Yeah, like Colonel
He
Cochran.
yeah, he I guess he got, you know, uh a team that helped did it, and he just, I don't know, he know what he's doing. He had this plan coming for a very long time because it seemed like he knew what he was doing, and it seemed like he was ready for world domination. And yeah, it's very interesting that it's powered by that. But what did you think about that scene? Like, how did you, like when you first seen that scene? Like, did you have the same effect of her getting zapped in the face? Because that was a
Oh,
very brutal, like scene, at least for me.
when I first seen that scene, that was weird to say. Scene.
Seeing that
Um,
scene.
seen that scene, yeah. Like I said, I was in high school, kind of. This is when I really started getting into horror. So, um, gore like that was especially new to me. But I was kind of like, I saw the original Saw around the same time. Not that that's like the goriest film ever, but I've never seen half the shit in that movie. So, um, yeah, for that scene, it definitely, pun intended, blew my mind. Um, but I do think it was a little overshadowed by the fact that I was getting so much gore at once from like other films,
Yeah,
and my mind always goes to obviously the kid um
yeah,
with the mask on, and then the android henchman, which we haven't mentioned the android henchman yet.
yes.
There's so
You
much
got
shit in this movie
it.
when he
Is a lot.
kills when he kills the father by like taking it, like pinching the nose and like pulling.
Yeah,
That's a one that stuck with me a little more. I think I
yeah,
was still traumatized by that the initial mask zappy I didn't fully process
yeah.
until rewatches, because I was still freaked out by the impromptu facelift.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about those android henchmen because they were creepy. And getting into this movie, you don't really know much about them. You don't know what they are. They're just standing there in silent and just like blank face and kind of just like dip behind the eyes.
And like at the
And
end of the movie, you still don't know that much about him.
no, no, there's a lot. Again, I had a lot of questions because even with Ellie, when like I don't know if she was an android this whole time or when she got caught or whatever, or shot, whatever it was that they mentioned, they quickly turned her into one of them because they don't talk, they don't say anything. But when he was trying to rescue her, but when he did rescue her, she was silent the whole time. So I think at
Right.
some point they kind of did something to her in a quick way, but they work really fast if that's the case. um
I mean, you got to remember, these are the same people who stole Stonehenge.
that's true, I keep forgetting about that. But yeah, one of them is actually played by Dick Warlock, who is Michael Myers in Halloween too.
Yeah,
And he
legend.
plays one, yeah. And he there was a scene where I forgot who it was. I think it was one of the guys that knew about what was going on. He was finding something out, and he took the head off of another one, and that effect was so decent because he was just like pulling it off, and you see the head literally just pop off, and you see like
Right.
the guts, and then the blood splurting out, and I'm just like, oh, so good. These android henchmen are strong as hell.
Yeah,
They're
they
very
are.
strong, and again, I want to know more about them too. That's why I low key wish, well, not low key, I high key wish we had a sequel to this, because there's so many questions that I have, and I feel like this movie had so much potential, and it could have done so well if it kept going. But us fans.
Well, this is one of those movies, and part of the reason why I didn't like it at first is there is so much that there are a lot of inconsistencies with the plot. There's a lot of loose threads that are like never picked up again.
Yeah.
And there's just so much happening. But as my taste kind of evolved over time, I just kind of appreciate it as like, does it make sense? No.
Mm.
Does it got the vibes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it just what other movies going to give me android men who bleed orange juice, setting themselves, like going in a car and setting themselves on fire
Fire. They
with
pouring
no
gasoline on themselves,
explanation.
right? Just kill themselves. Very
Right.
interesting. Um,
I've never seen another movie that had characters attempt and succeed in stealing Stonehenge.
yeah.
Like, I can't get over that.
At the end, doesn't like you see, and then like Cochran kind of like turns into like his face kind of like turns into like a stone. I don't know. He's like this weird smiley thing. He gets like blasted or something,
Yeah.
and his face goes go like just white and pale, and then he just vanishes, like he just disappears. So I'm like, all right, this movie's cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre.
And bizarre doesn't work for everybody. So
No.
it either works for you or it don't. And if it don't work for you, that is perfectly valid. That is
Mhm.
fine. Just go to bed knowing you're wrong.
Yeah, for all you people in the chat, Halloween 3 is, again, even though Michael Myers is not involved, you guys have to admit that there's some good potential in this movie, and it's a fun watch to watch around uh Halloween, around this time of the month, spooky season. It's a good time in my opinion, and it has some gnarly kills in it as well. It's just, again, it's underappreciated. Can we
Yeah.
talk about that annoying as jingle? Now that's one thing
You mean my
that
theme song?
that's your theme song.
No, but I want it to be. That
Oh my
is
god.
like top 5 song of all time for me.
Okay. You know, I was talking when I was speaking to Joe on Halloween too. I mentioned, and we talked briefly about Halloween Kills, and you know how in Halloween Kills they keep saying "Evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight." That's
Yeah.
how annoyed I was with this jingle as well, because it played every single time, and you know what? But that's what gives this movie its I guess its charm and stuff too, is because as soon as you hear it, you know where it's from,
Yeah.
and I think I think that's part of the reason why I like it. But it's just annoying as hell, man. And then you see the
Well,
kids like this, and it's like zooming in and out, and I'm just like, stop it! I'm literally like Tom Atkins at the end of this movie, like, stop it, stop it, stop it,
stop it.
stop it.
Um, I mean, I 100% disagree. I think it is up there with like the Star Wars score and Psycho and Jurassic Park as no, I'm kidding a little bit,
I'm about to say, I hope so.
but I do think it has a really strong thematic. Words are hard.
Yeah.
Like I think it's really important to the theme of the movie because um kind of like if you analyze this film, there is a fear of media, a fear of especially television, because at that time television and consumerism was, well, it's the 80s. It was running rampant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go to, and even today, you can't turn on a TV without hearing ba da 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 da,
I
or
love you.
yeah, like there's so many jingles, and I think that will not leave your head, and I think that's what Halloween 3
Yeah,
um it's about a lot of things, but something it is about is mass consumerism and like the commercialization of Halloween, like you see it with
yeah,
Christmas, right? Like
yeah,
it's supposed to be a holiday for loving your neighbor and your family and your friends, but then it's also like you gotta have your Santa hats, you gotta have
yeah,
your candy canes,
yeah,
and like that's what Colonel Cochran was trying to do. Was he
yeah.
was trying to bring it back to the spirit of Halloween and what murdering kids had to do with. I mean, trick or treat. I guess that's the trick. It's like trick or treat, your kid's dead.
Right. That's the treat or the
Yep.
trick.
I guess it depends on
I guess,
the
yeah,
kid
I
if you
guess.
want to get dark about it. But um, so this might be a fuck them kids live stream.
Pretty much it is. And and you know what? It's just like I feel like if this movie came out today, like it's perfect because the way this world is right now. I mean, the world always been this way, but I feel like it's kind of worse now. And I feel like the perfect time to maybe do like a reimagining of this or a reboot or something because
Well,
you
Colonel, if it was made today, Colonel Cochran wouldn't do TV. He would go live on TikTok.
TikTok,
He
yeah.
he'd be doing a live stream.
And guess what? Stop. That is true. That is true. And you know, everybody is so into social media now, and you know, and the teenagers now are just like so like this in their phones the whole entire time. Where,
Yeah,
and even kids, because kids now growing up with literally they're born with fucking cell phones and iPads to their hand. Like if
right,
they're when parents want to get their kids to shut up, they'll give them a device or of something. So
right.
that's all most of these kids know nowadays. So I feel like it would be very easy for him to get the kids out of here.
And
If
you
this
know
was modern day.
there would be dance challenges
Oh
to
yeah.
the Silver Shamrock, like
Ooh.
um jingle. Like,
Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe we should create one.
oh, we about to go viral on
Yes.
TikTok.
Hey.
Happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
I'll get my mask and everything. I'll get the score line.
Yes. See?
Yeah.
But no, I think a lot of things in that film is extremely relevant, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um Probably wouldn't have the main character um hook up with someone 20 years younger than him
Yeah. We wouldn't do that.
while they're trying to find their dad.
No.
But I
Yeah.
wouldn't not do it either.
Yeah.
That
I
was a
would
triple negative. I don't even know what I just said.
for me, I would just get rid of it altogether. It's not
Yeah.
needed. It doesn't elevate the storyline. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
So interesting person in the chat. But yeah, I wouldn't add that in there at all because it doesn't do anything for it. Like I feel like they just add this movie for Tom Atkins just so they can make something sexy. You know, have a sexy scene in these movies because you have to have it because it's the 80s. In the 80s, you
That's
have
right.
to have something. So it's not needed. This movie would have been completely the same if they didn't have that type of relationship. Because
Hashtag make Halloween sexy again.
oh my gosh. Get my PJ Souls on, see anything you like. Um,
Totally.
totally. Oh man. Well, before we go, Austin, I think you already mentioned your favorite kill. You said you like when the guy was pretty much getting the whole
Yeah.
pinching thing,
Yeah.
and my favorite kill is Marge getting blasted in the face. But I also like the kid getting his face melted off, like the picture above you here.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
pure
intense.
cinema.
Yeah, great, because you just see the mom laughing hysterically because she's like, "Oh, this is just a whatever. This is so stupid," and the father
Right.
just there, whatever, just like just we're here, whatever, and the kid is dying on the floor and getting insects, coming from his mouth. She faints. I think he faint too. I forgot what happens to him.
I
Um,
I think they eventually get eaten by the bugs and
Probably.
the snakes. Yeah, they're definitely left for dead,
Yeah,
but um yeah, I think they both faint. It also took them way too long to get concerned.
yeah, yeah. Your kid wasn't saying anything. Like you see your kid like in distraught, like something's happening. It was a
Right.
little too late. Like I would have ran right over there and pulled the fucking mask off. Like, what's
Yeah,
wrong? But
exactly.
no. But I'm scared of what would they seen if they pulled the mask off, like because we don't know how it's working. So we don't know if it's like,
Right.
so what if they pull it off while it's destroying his kid's head, and you see like chunks of flesh ripping off or just something insane. That would have been interesting to see as well if you want the kid to survive, but still see some, gruesome effects.
I think they would have been like 2% more traumatized.
Yeah, yeah. Because you actually get to see the kid's face. Ah.
Right.
But before we go, we already got our kills and stuff. What would you rate Halloween 3 season of The Witch?
Out of like
Oh, I'm sorry. Out of
10
five. Out
out
of
of 5?
five silver shamrock masks.
For me, Season of the Witch is a solid 4-star movie.
I love that. Okay.
Um, it's just so weird and bonkers, and the practical like the gore is amazing. The practical effects are fantastic. Tom Atkins, um, it has like a 10 out of 10 score. Um, that I always put on my Halloween playlists and, start the day. It's October.
Yeah.
17 more days till I don't know how many more
Yeah. How
days.
many days? Is it? No, it's not 17. I think is
I
it
don't know. I can't
20
math,
something.
so
It's 20 something, I think.
20 something more days till Halloween. See? Like
Silver shamrock. For me, I'll give it a solid like 3.5 silver
I
shamrock
think that's
mask.
fair.
Yeah,
I
I'll give
think
it.
that's fair.
I don't think it's a 1 or a 1.5, and maybe even a 2. Like again, this movie has so much potential. I think it's fun, and
Yeah.
it's weird and interesting, and it does make you tilt your head a lot, Michael Myers style, like what's going on. But I think that's why I like it even more. Like I like a lot of
Yeah.
weird shit, and sometimes things don't need an explanation. Like, yes, I'm greedy and I want to see how things happen and is put together, but sometimes things are scarier and better if it's left unexplained. Kind of like
And
the
I
whole
get that.
point of
Yeah.
Michael Myers. Like the whole point of Michael Myers is not for him to have a sibling, like his
Right.
sibling is dead. Lori wasn't supposed to be his sister. The whole point of him is to kill people at random, and that's what makes him more scary, opposed to him being related to somebody. And Michael Myers is not going to get me because I'm not related to him, so I don't have to worry about it. So that's why I appreciate John Carpenter, and Deborah Hill, because they like doing these things and not give any explanation. Because you don't need any. Sometimes it's
Right.
scarier just leaving it as it is. So
And there's a lot of scary unexplained stuff in Season of the Witch.
yes, a lot that we talked about, and there's more that we haven't talked about. But for majority of this movie, we talked about, and again, it's unexplained, but we still love it, and we still had a good time with it. And also, I'm so happy that you came on this episode and talked about your love of for a Season of the Witch, because again, this movie gets so much hate and just such, like, a lot of people just really hate it. It sucks. It's bad. It's horrible. And it's just watch the movie, y'all. I've seen
Yeah.
worse. I've seen worse. I'm sure we all seen worse. And
I've seen worse Halloween movies.
me, you know what? Yes, I agree. What? All right, so I'm just going to pick before we leave because I know I got Halloween 4 coming up next. But would I watch this over Resurrection? Yeah,
Trick
even
or treat,
though
motherfucker.
motherfucker, like that's going to come up. I have a special guest for that one as well. We're going to talk about
Awesome.
all the craziness with that one. But I do find myself in, and I love me some Michael Myers, but I do find myself watching Season of the Witch more than Resurrection, just because I feel like this is the better movie for me. I have a good
Can I
time with it.
just can I just say one thing
Mhm.
that we didn't get a chance to talk about? There's no reason why it's called Season of the Witch.
That
There
too.
isn't a witch.
There's no
It
witch. I
it
mean, there's
only
a witch mask, but it has nothing to do with anything.
it only takes like place over a couple of days. It's not even a week. Maybe a week, like week of the witch, but it's not even a witch.
No.
I don't know what else to call it, but like
You know what? That's true. That's the big, like, one of the biggest problems with this movie. Because you're right, it's called Season of the Witch, and it has nothing to do with a fucking witch. I mean, unless you want to call Cochran a witch, like he's the genius of all of this. But in the '80s,
yeah.
in your head, you don't like the stereotypical witch. You think of just a woman who conjure up spells, blah 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 blah. If it was a woman and had like witch tendencies, but not, you don't know quite that they're a witch, but they're doing things witch like, then I could understand that. But I feel like they just needed a cool title, and they said, you know what, Season of the Witch, just throw it on there because they wanted something decent, and this is the best they came out with.
I would have called it Stone Heist.
You know what? That's what we're gonna call it. I should put that in the title. Halloween 3, Stone Heist.
They stole Stonehenge. I'll never get over it.
I mean, we wouldn't have this if they didn't. So, yeah,
True.
yeah.
Oh
Well,
my god.
thanks again, Austin. This was a lot of fun. Do you want to plug yourself one more time so people can find you? And
For
yeah,
sure. I host a podcast called Would You Die? Bobby's been a guest on it a couple times. We talk about our favorite horror monsters and villains, everyone from Michael and Freddy to more obscure like Sam from Trick or Treat, the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. Um I've had the
a
great
new
pleasure of going
episode.
over. Oh yeah,
Michael Myers, you
exactly.
have a new episode. So,
Yeah, I have a new episode every Wednesday, and you can follow it on Twitter and Instagram at Would You Die Show, all one word. And well, yeah, that's how usernames are. And then if you like me, I guess, and want to follow myself, I am at Austin M Torres, um, on Insta and Twitter.
yes, I put that information in the description box. So if you guys didn't capture all of that, it's in the description box. So you can just click that button or click the links that I put down there and follow my buddy here. Austin's amazing. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to this podcast and share some good feedback because it's some good stuff. High quality shit too. I love it. Um
Thank you.
But thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thank you again, Austin. We're about to go into Halloween 4 with my guests, Marco Estes and Tyrone Williams. So that's going to be up in a few minutes. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Austin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right. Let's see.